Alleged Democratic Senator John Fetterman received some backlash for attacking New York City mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani. Going on Fox News, yes, speaking to Fox News, I should say, the Democratic Congressman from Pennsylvania suggested that Mamdani he's not really a Democrat.
I'm not a voter in New York City, and so I have no dog in that fight. And everything that I've read on him, I don't really agree with virtually any of it politically. So that's just where I'm at as a Democrat. I mean, he's not even a Democrat, honestly.
He's not even a Democrat. Wait, this is the man who pretended during his campaign to be progressive. Okay, well, to be fair, maybe he wasn't pretending. Perhaps the stroke that he had caused enough brain damage to make him into a conservative. I don't know. It could be. Maybe he was progressive once. Maybe he was acting. I don't know. But what's important now is that Fetterman is definitely not acting like a Democrat. Okay? At least not one who actually wants to win. Who wants to create a winning coalition. Okay? Who wants to be a member of a winning political party. All right? This man is cozying up to a fascist, Donald Trump. And even, look, after the election, Fetterman was like, members of the Democratic Party, stop freaking out. Quote, if you're rooting against the president, you're rooting against the nation. The hell are you talking about? The president is not the country. Okay, that's some, Bush era, bullshit right there. Okay? I mean, this reminds me of you can't criticize George W. Bush while we're at war. That's un-American. You can't criticize Donald Trump because he's president. You can't root for him to fail because you're rooting against the nation. Shut up. This is a man who also is wholeheartedly supporting a genocide that does not have the support of the American people, thankfully. Most Democrats are against what's going on in Gaza. They sympathize more, and this has been a sea change in American politics. Okay? I mean, you asked 10 years ago, most people would be like, oh, no, I'm in favor. I am obviously way more sympathetic to the Israelis. Now, you have a majority, especially Democrats, that sympathize with the Palestinians because finally people are seeing what monstrous things are happening to the Palestinian people at the hands of this right-wing government. So that's what's going on here. All those videos that have come out, all of that stuff, just showing how horribly the Palestinian people are being treated by the right-wing government of Israel. And yet this guy, Fetterman, is like, you know what we should do? We should let Israel finish the job and just annex Palestine. And, basically do an ethnic cleansing of the area. Kick all the Palestinians out and then let Israel take it over. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Now, look, he got a lot of pushback, of course, for this. One ex-user wrote, pot meets kettle. Look who's talking, said someone else. Bro, neither are you, replied another. Look, Fetterman is one of the examples of why Democrats lose. Okay? He is why Democrats lose. When you campaign as a progressive, and then you get into power and you're like, just kidding. Let's cozy up with Trump. Oh, I don't like that Mamdani. He's not a real Democrat. This is why the base hates these people. Okay? Hates people like Fetterman. Whereas Mamdani is what Democrats should be if they actually want to win. Because he has bold policy proposals, he is young, he is energetic, and most importantly, he is willing to stand up and fight for his policies, for the right things. Whereas these establishment folks, they don't want to do that. They fight for donor money. And so the establishment And that's why the establishment and the right wing are so opposed to Mamdani. They're so freaked out by Mamdani. And for Fetterman, Mamdani is what Fetterman claimed to be during his campaign, a progressive fighter. And yet, Fetterman has said that Mamdani's victory over Andrew Cuomo in the primaries was a, quote, gift for the Republican Party, saying that it was Christmas in July for the GOP and provided an opportunity for the GOP to brand our party like they branded you. I remember during his campaign where they were calling Fetterman what a wild socialist. Oh my God, he's in favor of Medicare for all. What to bankrupt the nation. What a socialist. And now you're doing the same thing against Mamdani. I mean, it's disgusting. Hey, how about we stop letting Republicans define who we are? I'm really, really sick of, people allowing the Republicans to define the Democrats, okay, and to define progressives and to define democratic socialists, okay? Why can't they define themselves? Why can't the Democrats define themselves? Well, I got an answer for that, too. It's because most of the Democrats, unfortunately, are empty suits filled with donor cash who keep trying, and failing, by the way, to appeal to Republican voters. But look, Republicans, and the reason that they, I think, reaching out to Republicans all the time is because Republicans actually don't care about their politicians being completely corrupt. It's true. It's true. I know the Republicans are, drain the swamp, and then they vote for the swamp monster. They vote for the most corrupt people imaginable. They voted for Donald Trump. I mean, come on. But, those same people, though, and here's what the Democrats don't understand. They would never vote for a Democrat. Never would. Yet these so-called, establishment, enlightened centrists, they keep trying. And in doing so, they vilify and drive away their own voters, their own base. And they malign them, by the way. Oh, you're far left. No, in reality, they're center left. Look, a lot of the Democrats, Democratic voters specifically, they're center left. Okay. Look, Mamdani is also center left. He is the compromise candidate. Okay. He wants to create things like public grocery stores so that they can compete with other grocery stores to provide low income people cheaper groceries. He's actually doing what Trump had claimed that he wanted to do, was to bring down the price of groceries, right? Well, this is the way of doing it. It's basically it's a public option, but for groceries instead, which I think is a smart idea, and it's a good idea. But of course, it's being decried as, it's authoritarian socialism. No, it's trying to stop the, padding of the pockets of these giant corporations that, by the way, during the pandemic and afterwards, used inflation as an excuse to raise their prices, creating inflation, and draining money from working class people, from average people. Okay, that's what they're doing. And not only that, but look, he wants free public transportation, which also makes sense because guess what? The public has already paid for that transportation through their taxes. If it's public transportation, how does that get funded? It gets funded through your tax money. So why are people who use this public transportation to get to work being double taxed for this? Taxed once in order to pay for it, and then having to pay a fare. That doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, he wants to freeze rents for people who have seen their rent go through the roof because of big real estate driving up prices. So these are not radical policies. These are not radical at all. But you know what is radical? Supporting a genocide. That's radical. What's radical is allowing rich people to strip all the wealth from the working class to give it to themselves. That's radical. All Mamdani is trying to do is just to bring some of that money back to the people. If that makes him not a Democrat, according to John Fetterman, well, then I guess all the voters that voted for Mamdani and all of his supporters from all across the country, I guess they're not Democrats either. Which means Democrats, like Fetterman, supposed Democrats, have a real big problem and might as well just become Republicans. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.